are now listening to an inspirational message from the Greater Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church, where Dr. Michael Wesley Sr. is pastor. Please join the service in progress.
Well, we reached the end of this series that's been a unique one, So You Want to Be Married. And must admit, I've enjoyed sharing the truth as God has given. And I know there's been some sting in it, and there's been some openness about some things, but that's the way God brings it. And when you yield to the leading of the Spirit of God, then you follow what He gives. And I was sharing earlier, I said, some messages you can't preach until a certain season in your life. A 15-year-old preacher can't preach that kind of stuff. So I want to, that's tempered with experience, a lot of it. So this morning we want to take you to another challenge, and that is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 6. Part of it you read in your devotional for the morning, the responsive reading. Deuteronomy chapter 6, and I want to look at verses 6 through 8. And it simply says, "And these words which I command thee this day shall be in thine heart, and thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children, and shalt talk of them when thou sittest in thine house, and when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up. And thou shalt bind them for a sign upon thine hand, and they shall be frontlets between thine eyes." One more. "And thou shalt write them upon the post of thine house and on thy gates." This is the word of God for the people of God. I want to preach from the subject of strengthening family ties. Strengthening family ties. I guess I have to admit that I'll remember my 60th birthday for a long time to come. Many of you celebrated with me on that occasion at Regents Park. I was honored to throw out the first pitch of that game, and we had an enjoyable afternoon of baseball, music, food, drink, fellowship. But it wasn't until last week, on Mother's Day, that something triggered my thinking about all of this as to why I will remember my birthday and every day going forward. For some strange reason, God lifted the curse of familiarity from my eyes. Do you understand what I mean? The curse of familiarity. The best way I can describe it is comparing to watching a black and white television program, and then suddenly have that program to switch to Technicolor, and to all of a sudden see all of the bright rays of hues and color and background and things that were there all along. But because it had been masked in familiarity, that we missed what really was there all along. Well, in my experience, every now and then, God surprises me like that, to let me see. And He let me see this past week my family in Technicolor. And when He did that, I discovered the wonder of who they really are. This past Sunday, I saw them because we were there. And it was probably the first time that the original four of us had just been together alone. Speaking of wife, Anita, and son, Michael, and James, and myself. And we were there to share in a Mother's Day meal, but while I was watching, God lifted that curse of familiarity. And I saw each one in Technicolor. I watched Vanita. Now, the boys and I had grilled and had prepared everything, but we didn't make the barbecue sauce. So we called on the home ec specialist to hook up the sauce. And our den is right next to the kitchen, so you can see in it. And so she was there, and I've seen her do that thousands of times. Make it and just mixing the right ingredients to get it just a combination of sweet and hot and all those kinds of things. But this time when I looked, I saw her different. I saw her for who she was. A gift from God, a lifetime partner, multifaceted individual, complex in her own way, quiet. But in Technicolor, I saw her mama through her. Ladies, I want to tell you, if you want to know what you're going to look like later on, look at your mama. Because some resemblance of her going to show through. And I saw some of the expressions, and I just said, and I just whispered a prayer of thanksgiving. She didn't know I said it. And then I had to whisper another one to say, God, forgive me for all the times I've just taken this for granted. And the next to appear in Technicolor was my son, Mike Jr. And Mike comes in neon colors, blinded because of the glowing personality that he presents. I mean, he's always joking and laughing and teasing his brother and saying something that keeps us in stitches. And to see him and to think about him, I stood back and I looked at this grown man. And my mind went back across the years, because at the same time I go to the window and I look out at what was the playground. I looked at what used to be first base and second base and all of those things, and I thought about this man now who is not only pastoring a church and teaching school and going through what he goes through on a daily basis, trying to operate a little business and just a number of things in Technicolor. And the last to show in my view was James. And James' colors are a little bit more subtle than the rest of us. He is multi-talented, brilliant in his own right. And I thought about it. You heard his music, but you don't see his engineering skills, as he has a tremendous responsibility of designing electrical systems for corporate jets, for Gulfstream aircraft. And to see him in his little calculating manner, because he and I were on the grill, and James calculated how many pieces of charcoal we were going to need. Then methodically he lays out all of the vegetables, the asparagus, counted them one by one. And I thought, as I looked at each of them, I said, God, my heart just broke out in worship. I'm just telling you, because I thought to myself, I said, what a concept. What an idea. The idea of family. What a brilliant mind that had to have created the notion. Because God could have put us on the planet and we would have been forced to live in isolation. But instead, he said, I'm going to set it up in such a way that you live in little communities among yourselves, and you be with one another, and you understand one another, and you accept one another, flaws and all. My eyes were open. God, how great you are to do that. Now, when I think about that, what God wanted us to do in living and learning in an environment called family, it took me back to my birthday. And I thought, because I had all of them and all of you here, and we celebrated, but you know what? In the midst of celebration, we left off something. We left off the cake and the birthday wishes and the candles. So technically, I still have some wishes. And so this morning, I want to share with you my wish. My wish, 4 of them. Number 1, I wish that parents would recognize that the greatest gift that they could give to their children is a vital, healthy marriage. Look, I'm not picking, I'm not knocking, but I'm just telling you, I wish that parents would realize how important this is. For weeks now, we've been talking about it. We've been talking about choosing a spouse and how to go about that whole process. And I hope for those who have not yet gotten married that you would consider some of these things before you do. And I trust that those of you who are already there would understand the benefit that's there for you. Now, yes, I know if you got a healthy, strong marriage, yes, obviously the benefit comes to that man and that woman that's in that marriage. But I want you to know that other folk benefit from that too. Namely, if God blesses you with children. Children benefit from a relationship that's healthy and whole. And so when God blesses you, God knows what he is intended for this to be. And so what I want to tell you, that when parents don't realize that when your marriage relationship is good, it reduces anxiety in children. It does. Psychologists tell us today that one of the greatest fears that children face today is the breakup of their homes. There's ample case for fear. Yes, it is, because statistics are nerve-shattering for our young people. Almost every kid in here knows somebody in the school that they attend or in the community that they live in, know somebody that have come from a family where there's been some breakup. And we've witnessed some of the pain that is associated with that kind of thing. But I want you to know today that unlike ever before, kids are worrying. Kids are worrying. And they're worrying about whether or not their mom and dad are going to stay together. And they do manipulative things, really and truly they do. It's one of their deepest concerns, and they carry it with them wherever they go. And whether you realize it or not, kids watch the adult relationship like a hawk. They really do. I can't count how many times as a school principal, young people have come to my office and have talked about the issues going on. I can't tell you about how many people who have come and looked at me and shared with me that they're concerned about their family, their parents. And it's frightening to them. So I want to tell you today that when I look at middle school age kids today and high school age kids today, and I say and I see for many their world is caving in because they just don't know what to do. Kids don't understand when adults have challenges. And they don't always understand why adults can't get along or why mom and dad can't stay together. Now listen, I'm not knocking nobody. Please don't misunderstand me. Hear the word today. But if you would ask many who are graduating from wherever they're graduating from, what is it that you want for graduation? I guarantee you, many, if they would be honest, would say, I want my family back. I want my mom and my dad to be together. And I know that, they would like to have those materialistic things because many kids are very materialistic. But I think if they had a choice between that, they would say, keep your expensive items and give me the security of a loving family. So parents, I want to tell you again that one of the greatest gifts that you can give your children is the gift of a vital marriage. When kids see you connecting with each other, it reduces their anxiety. It increases their security, and it serves as a kind of standard for them to shoot for if they ever one day choose to get married. When they start looking up for some ideas as to what marriage should look like, they'll be able to walk out of that house having a model by which they can build a relationship upon. But I got a word for the single parents very quickly because I don't want you to think that I'm ignorant of you. Because some of you may be wondering, well, what about me? What about us? What about our situation? What will my failed marriage do to my children? Well, I've got to be honest with you. That really depends on how you process the breakup. If you go around cussing and blaming and twisting people to be hateful toward your ex, then let me be honest, you're going to reap what you sow. And the fruit of that is going to be twisted hearts and angry minds, and later a kid will grow up and they say, you made me hate him or you made me hate her. When I could have had some kind of relationship, let them choose about that kind of thing. God can take a bad situation, see, and make it good. So if you talk to your kids about it and say, look, this is what happened. We weren't able to stay, we weren't able to share, and you pray through it, there are some valuable lessons that can be learned by young people as they move into adult life. You can learn a lot. I've learned the most from my failures than I've learned from any area of success. But again, my first wish is that parents would realize the importance of a vital relationship in your marriage. My second wish for parents is that you will stop believing the lie of the 80s. During that decade of the 80s, experts seem to have come out of the woodworks. And they came out with the lie that quality is all you need to help your kids. Just spend some quality time with your kids. But I tell you, that's a lie. It's not enough just to breeze through a kid's life once a week or once a month or once every other year and say we're going to spend quality time and think that that's going to produce the result. The truth is, quantity time is what ultimately leads to quality time. Because here's the truth. Here's the deal. Because quality time cannot be scheduled. You can't schedule when there is going to be a quality moment. And it comes from a lot of quantity time just hanging out together. And in the process of hanging out together, then something spectacular, unforgettable moment comes. But just think about it. Just think about it just for a moment. Now, raise them with me because I want to keep it real and I'm going to move quickly. But here you are. You're saying, okay, all I need is quality time between all of the busyness of all of the things I got to do so I can spend 5 minutes with you. You know, and then kids thinking to themselves, oh, he wants quality time, so I guess I'll have to say something profound. I have to do something spectacular in this moment because he wants some quality time or she wants some quality time. It doesn't happen like that. The truth is that I've discovered in my own life that it usually happens in a ratio of 1 to 500. You have to spend enormous amounts of quantity time in order for a quality moment to show up. When I was a kid, there was a boy that lived next door to me. His name was Tony. And Tony and I spent quantity time. Every day we ran together. Every day we shot marbles. Every day we played basketball. Every day we shared a meal. Every day we did something together. And then Christmas came, and I said to Tony, go to church with me. We do everything else, man. You've never gone to church. And Tony said, sadly, he said, Mike, I ain't got nothing to wear. I said, Tony, you just got that new cowboy suit. I said, where that? And Tony put that cowboy suit on, and he came to church. And he kept coming to church. And today he's Reverend Dr. Tony Parks, who is pastor of the Mount Sinai Baptist Church of Greenville, South Carolina, and a seminary professor. But that quality moment never would have happened without many hours of quantity time. Now, you understand that with your brain. You know that's true. You can see it as an adult, but we don't see it when it comes to our children. That we just sometimes just have to hang out. Listen, this weekend, I spent just about every day this weekend hanging out with my boy. Now, I'm not saying nothing profound happened, but it was just hanging out time. But I tell you what, it puts some quantity in the bank that's setting up a day for some quality. Do you know, parents, that kids they yearn deep down inside to be able to talk to somebody that they might be able to talk to and share the deep churnings that's going on the inside. But it takes a lot of quantity time to build up enough trust to be able to reveal those deep secrets and those failures and even those dreams that they may have. You have to know that you're cool enough to handle it. Hanging out with my boys enough, man, when they came home from college, they said, Dad, it's amazing how much sense you have gotten. I got the sense. Quantity will bring that quality to pass. So I have a third wish. And this probably is my hobby horse, but I don't have time to ride it like I like. But my third wish is that parents will become thoroughly convinced that discipline is a debt that you owe your children. You owe children the debt to discipline them. I don't know what is happening in our world, but it just seems like over the last 25, 30, maybe as many as 50 years, but I know at least the last 30 years. The pendulum has swung far to the left side of the laissez-faire, or the laissez-faire method of discipline. Parents have become gun-shy about disciplining their children. We act like we don't want to say nothing to them. If you say something to me, I won't like you no more, or you'll get over it. You know, the problem is we have forgotten the clear teaching of the Bible on this subject. Before I develop the text, because that's going to be the last thing I want to do, because I'm doing this on purpose like this. But let me tell you what the teaching of the Bible says. Proverbs 22:15 says, evil is bound up in the heart of a child, and it's discipline that will remove it. What that means is children are born with a sinful, self-destructive heart, and they're going to need to be disciplined in order to bring that out. Proverbs 19:18 said, discipline your child while there's still hope. Proverbs 13:24 said, he who spares the rod of discipline hates his son. He who loves his son or daughter
Hope you enjoyed the broadcast. You have been listening to a message from the Greater Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church, where we are reaching the world for Christ, located at 2135 Jefferson Avenue Southwest, Birmingham, Alabama 35211. For a copy of a CD or DVD, you can reach us at 205-925-5972 or visit us on the web at www.greatershallow.org. For an uplifting message, please join us for the next broadcast.